It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
I said one more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. My now smoking with the best.
Hour 2 of The Law. We are going to kick off with Dave Meltzer. We'll let you know right now we are going to do Tight About Trivia this week. We passed on it last week. And as we do that, we'll flip over to San Jose. Chat with Dave Meltzer. Dave, slow week, huh?
Every week's a slow week these days.
Yep, it is. Let's start with, of course, the world of the Hardys, the unbroken Hardys at this point. A very weird situation going on with them in regards to intellectual property. And they did show up on Ring of Honor, but were the Hardy Boys, essentially. Now, what do you think the impact of... first of all, do you think the Hardys will be able to get this broken gimmick so that they can have it and use it in other promotions?
I don't know the contract situation, and so I really can't give an educated answer without seeing the contract. It's a touch and go. I mean, if it was like WWE, I mean, it's pretty specific that the answer would be no if it was a WWE created gimmick. Mm-hmm. And even though the Hardys or Matt himself actually created the gimmick, the fact is that the contract, I have seen TNA contracts. Now, their contract may be different, so that's why I can't answer. But the TNA contracts I've seen pretty much indicate that if the gimmick debuts on their TV, they own the intellectual property rights. And, I know a lot of people think with them going to WWE that WWE will just, not care. But they're going to care because, if the shoe was on the other foot, what would WWE do? And the answer is they would be doing the same thing TNA is doing, even though TNA is getting a lot of negative press over it, and a lot of people are mad about it. And it's one of these things. I mean, again, if their contract is different, it could be different. But there's a lot of stuff in wrestling, and I compare it to like Cody Rhodes, the name Cody Rhodes, where legally right and morally right are completely two different things. And I think this one may be another one just like that.
A week ago, we all knew the Hardys were going to be on this pay-per-view. Had this legal notice been sent Monday as opposed to the day of their pay-per-view, do you think that people may have been more understanding? Because I do feel that most look at this that you're right. The WWE would do this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you're right in the sense that it was sent at the last minute, and also sending it. The key was not so much that they sent it to Ring of Honor, but they sent it to
the cable providers.
The cable providers, and they lost. Dish Network just canceled the show, over that letter, which to me, that's a pretty bad deal to do that. I mean, if I was Ring of Honor, I'd be furious at TNA for doing that. I mean, even though it's I mean, you wouldn't want that where where people ordered through Dish, and then they couldn't get the show, and and again, if they did it a week before, they could have worked everything out. Doing it at the last minute left no time to work everything out, and Ring of Honor kind of got screwed in the deal there. And Ring of Honor really did nothing wrong in this one. I'm not saying in other things they haven't done things wrong, but in this one they did nothing wrong other than they hired these guys who were free agents to work their pay-per-view, to help their pay-per-view, and and they didn't do their gimmick. They were just Matt and Jeff Hardy, so they really did nothing wrong.
Dave, let's chat about, TNA and kind of continue on with that there. Shift over. We had the big reboot this week. I found it, I listened to all of your podcasts, and I found it very funny to hear you watch the first 30 minutes of the show and speak very positively about it, and then hear you after watching the whole 2 hours, and you had a very different opinion of it.
Yeah, I thought that the segment with Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews, at first there was a lot of funny lines in it, so I enjoyed it. But the 2 hours of the bickering was too much, and it really hurt. It wasn't, if you're going to debut Jeremy Borash as the new announcer, that really wasn't the way to do it, just having being so argumentative and everything like that. And Josh, Josh was actually pretty good at being that heel announcer, that heel Michael Cole announcer, but I hate that role. And eventually they're going to he's going to be gone from it anyway. And quite frankly, the announcing like this way, it can't end soon enough.
Well, we at least got three more weeks of it at least. and then that angle will come to a conclusion. What did you think of the presence of both Dutch Mantel and Bruce Pritchard?
I didn't like it. I mean, as far as like they spoke well. They're both good promos, but when I was watching, it was like I just don't know that. I don't like the message. I think that it's like, you're basically saying that this company used to be bad to the few fans left that still liked it, and you're doing like this political speech that we're going to make it better without like telling anyone anything. And Bruce Pritchard talking about, I was there for Hulk Hogan and I was there for The Rock. That's like ancient history, Hulk Hogan. That's 30 years ago. And it's like, I don't really think that you should watch like a modern show and be told, oh, by the way, everything good is in WWE, type of a thing, or all the legendary stuff happened in WWE. It's like, that's not what people watch TNA for. If they wanted to be told how great WWE was, they'd watch WWE Network. You know what I mean?
It's funny. I was trying to come up with a comparison, Dave, and it's like the closest I can get, and it's not a perfect one, is, once NXT launched and they had this great product that they have marketed to everybody, they now use FCW as a contrast of this. They paint it as a dump that they used to have.
Terrible at what used to be.
But the difference is they've got this new product now, and people see it. And here, Impact, this was night one of, hey, just trust us, we're going to make something great, but this place has been awful for 9 years that you've been sticking around for.
Well, the other thing, too, is that they talked about, like, all the people who've been here. None of them are there. It's like a commercial for WWE. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle. Sting's not in WWE anymore. But, Ric Flair's daughter, and Ric Flair shows up every now and then. And I'm just watching this, and it's just like they're either retired people or they're WWE people, everyone that they talked about. And it's like, these were the stars that were made in TNA, other than I guess they did have some clips of Jeff Jarrett. But, it's like that's I don't see how that's a positive at all for rebuilding your company, saying, hey, we used to have AJ Styles. And you know what? The people who remember it go, yeah, you did. And he was nowhere near as big a star as he became once he left.
And then you just let him go needlessly, actually, with the way that they had AJ Styles exit. Speaking of the WWE, this week we saw the Undertaker-Roman Reigns confrontation happen on Raw. Looking beyond WrestleMania, is it finally the time that Roman Reigns walks out of this as a heel?
I don't think they're ever going to turn him because I think they had that John Cena mentality. I think this is a great time to do it. If Jericho was in full time, I would really be for it because then you'd have Jericho and you would have Finn Balor and you would have Seth Rollins as your three top baby faces. And I think that's a pretty solid lineup. But with Jericho not being, I don't know what Jericho's schedule is, but obviously there's a lot of musical stuff and things like that. So if it's just Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, I don't know, if number three is like Sami Zayn, I don't know that they're going to feel that strong enough. And so I'm guessing my gut says that Roman Reigns is going to stay babyface and feud with Braun Strowman, but we'll see.
Given the fact that we know John Cena is going to be going for a hiatus after WrestleMania, you mentioned kind of the babyface side on Raw. Do you think it's time after WrestleMania that they do make some shifts on both rosters?
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that they will. And it's funny because Roman Reigns might even be one of those shifts. Because I think one of the ideas of the shifts are that they want to freshen up the main event scene on both sides. So and I would wish it was because it just started in July, maybe like 3 or 4 more months. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're going to right after WrestleMania is kind of like you start off the new season type thing. So I think that's probably. Again, the rumors I hear is that shortly after WrestleMania is when they're going to start shuffling rosters. Yeah,
right.
As far as Bill Goldberg goes, we saw him take a bump in the ring on Monday night. First one in a very, very long time that he's actually taken. The crowd, though, when he walked out, was not as big for Bill as they had been in the past. A little bit of turning. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, it is Chicago, so you got to take that into account. But do you foresee this being any problem at WrestleMania, considering the history of Brock and Goldberg?
No, because I think that there was going to be a natural backlash of him winning the championship. If you remember in 2002 when Hogan won, Hogan was like all the rage until he won the title, and then as soon as he won the title, everything changed. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they all turned on him, but he cooled off. And I think that the same thing happened in the sense with Bill. It's like, yeah, they got the story. He wins the title. That's cool. Now he's a champion. There's going to be some resentment for the fact that he won it in a minute, or 21 seconds, actually. Mm-hmm. So I think I expected more, so it doesn't really worry me. And you're always going to, you're always going to have some shades of gray, or, like you're not going to have 100% characters. I think right now anyway, although I guess Randy Orton's not getting booed by anyone, but he just turned, and so it's like a different type of dynamic.
Do you see that closing the show, Dave?
Randy Orton's match with
Goldberg and Lesnar.
I know that. I mean, I don't know, but I was always led to believe it was going to. But in a sense, I don't know that it's the. You could put it somewhere else in the show, and then you don't leave with a short match. If you're going to do a long match, but a long match with those two is a risk.
Yeah,
so I would say that. I wouldn't do it if it was me. Put it that way. But I was led to believe originally, that was going to be the main event. I was told that all along. Yeah.
What if you were booking, Dave? What would you put in the main event spot?
Man, it's funny because it's like
tough one.
I would tell you the AJ Styles match, except I won't this time. So. I mean, I guess that, by process of elimination, Undertaker and Roman Reigns might be the one to go with, but I think that you know what?
If you were doing the turn and he beats Taker, there's a hell of an argument to closing the show off with that. That's a pretty impactful finish.
Oh, yeah. If he does the full-fledged turn, yeah, why not? Because, why follow that? Make that your closing thing. Because Roman Reigns' turn will be one of the big stories of the show. Mm-hmm. But my gut is that they'll probably go with, if they don't go with the Goldberg match, I think they're going to go with the Orton match.
Wow. I think that'll have the sentiment, if they do that, of WrestleMania 18, where we saw Triple H and Chris Jericho try to follow The Rock and Hulk Hogan.
We've seen that a couple of times at WrestleManias. And, yeah, it is that risk, especially when you're talking about a 6-hour show.
Yes.
If you have the wrong match at the end, it could be cold. Yes.
Dave, we got to say goodbye for this week. In the Observer, though, what do we got?
5 issues this week.
Yeah, 5 issues about the Hardys.
Well, yeah, I'll talk about the Hardys. Talk about the whole UK scene. There's a lot of craziness going on there, and what other stuff? The UFC show over the weekend, and the New Japan Cup.
Oh, did you see Omega and Ishii, Dave?
And Ishii.
Wow.
What?
Did you see Ishii and Omega?
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
It was fantastic. Everyone needs to go watch that match.
Absolutely, yeah.
There you go. So that'll be covered in the Observer this week. And next week, Dave, we'll be chatting with you at this exact same time.
Okay, have a great week.
You too. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of his great writing, podcasts, all that good stuff.